This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. He was one of the original guests on the show years ago now. And, he's out there in the heavy haul, the specialized world. And, it's one of my absolute favorite segments of the industry. And, we're just here to really talk about the basics of it, right? And the realities of being out in heavy haul. So he's, literally out there in the field today. I have Mr. Nate Ramsden with Barco Trucking on the show today. Nate, thank you so much for joining me. Uh-oh. Hey, Nate, can you hear me? He might have just lost service. It looks like he just lost connection here. He'll be pulling back up. He is literally out on the field, in the field right now, surveying some job sites and stuff. So we'll pull him back up here when he comes on. But, like I was saying, Nate was on the show a few years ago, and, they really play in that specialized world. And, here he is right here. Let's give it a whirl here and see. There he is. Now we're ready. Nate, what's up, brother? See, guys, we only have actual people with day jobs that come on the show. Oh, hold on. Let's try that. There we go.
Sorry about that, Chris. I apologize. The field is being kind to me today.
No, dude, it's not like you're in a major metropolitan area right now in the comforts of an office like I am. You're literally in your truck out on a job site.
Oh, no, we just finished up a little bit ago and found a place I thought was good, but having a little technical difficulties.
Dude, it's all good, man. Well, Nate, I really appreciate you joining me. And, it's been a while since you've been on the show here, man. So, let's get to for the people out there who aren't aware of your story, man. How'd you get your start in transportation? What brought you in here?
So, I'm 23 years into this now. I started out specialized heavy hauling when I was in the military, and then just kind of kept learning from there, working with some rigging company out of the Northwest, and then just kind of growing and learning to where I got to the point where I wanted to have my own truck, and did the heavy haul specialized thing as an owner operator for a little while. I believe that was the last time we actually spoke to each other. And then an opportunity came my way with Barco to sell the truck and then take my talents outside of a truck, which is something I think a lot of guys strive for, to find that way out from behind the wheel. And so that's what I've been doing now for the last 2 years, as outside sales, business development, and field supervisor for Barco, helping Barco grow their business and get to where we want to be.
So Nate, how are you out there surveying some of these jobs, right? Because with you guys, in the specialized world, it's not like you're out there, hauling specific. Like, you guys have a very unique kind of thing that you're going after. So how do you guys really assess that from a business development standpoint?
So as far as what, like today, what you've got me in the middle of doing today is a site survey. A lot of our customers, and we've seen it now in the industry, kind of progress as trailers get bigger, pieces get bigger, job sites get more difficult to traverse. They like to make sure long before we ever end up on the job site with our equipment that there's no improvements that need to be made, and just try and make a very seamless transition from active job site to now we're delivering components, and just try and make that as easy as possible, and head off any issues that may arise long before a truck ever sees the job. So,
and then a lot of that is it just like that the job site is actually stable enough to bring the equipment on, make sure that if there's any additional roads that need to be built, all of that stuff is done before production of the job site actually begins?
Yes, and that's where I'm here to bridge the gap between civil contractors that maybe don't have the experience with large trucks and super loads and stuff like that, and what it takes to get into a job site. So I bridge that gap, help them understand, hey, this is what we need. I'll work with you guys with what you guys need for your job site, so that your job site doesn't need to be completely shut down while we come in. So it's just one part of what I do, but it is a pretty integral part, and it helps Barco, and it helps all of our operators in the field, gives them just kind of peace of mind knowing that somebody's been there and seen that and knows that we can make this work.
How important is that for people in this industry, do you think, kind of like as a whole, right? Because like that's one of our big keys, Nate, is just we really want to go out and meet people in person. I want to check out the facility. I want to kind of see the lay of the land a little bit, just to give, like for us, and like even though just like with legal open deck loads, I like to give my drivers a heads up, right? Like, hey, if it's the fourth entrance, go to the fourth entrance and, check in at this door number and stuff like that. I want to get ahead of that because, obviously time is money. Everybody's, every minute of everybody's day is being monitored essentially. So I want to make it as efficient as possible.
It's a huge part to what we do. And really, social media is a great tool because it allows us to connect with people and podcasts and whatnot, but then you lose a little bit of that human aspect. So I love, like you said, going out, meeting the people on the job, meeting the guys that are actually going to take possession of the pieces that we bring. When we're bringing in trailers that are 150, 160, 170 feet long, and units that are 2, 3, up to 500,000 pounds on some of these job sites, there's not a lot of room for, I want to back up and we made the wrong turn, or we can't get in here. You want to make sure everything is going to go off without a hitch, and that it's going to go smooth. And that makes everybody happy. That makes the end user happy. That makes Barco look good, makes the client that's providing the piece look good, and everybody goes home happy that way. So that's really what it's all about for me.
No, and I'm right there with you, man. And I think like, you brought up 2, 3, 4, 500,000 pound shipments there, right? And I don't know if enough people can even comprehend the size of the equipment that we're talking about right there. And, it's like when we're out there developing business as a broker, right? Like, yes, we can do heavy haul, we can do over dimensional, but like I let my clients and my prospects know, like we have our limits, right? Like I essentially break it down like 12 and a half wide, 12 and a half tall. Like that's kind of our wheelhouse, 100,000 pounds. Everything else, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice if it's anything in the super max category where like you need to go direct to a carrier at that, right? Like you need a guy like you, Nate, who's out there in the field, who's assessing a lot of this stuff because, and I feel like a lot of the, there's just certain parts of it where it's like, unless they're doing it every single day from a manufacturer standpoint, they might not know, right? And the last thing you want to do is have something shut down by the DOT and it's not moving for a myriad of reasons. But again, you brought up that seamless flow of it. And I feel like everybody should know kind of their wheelhouse, and especially when it goes into the bigger, the heavier shipments. Like I truly feel like unless you own the equipment, you got to kind of have your bow out numbers of like, hey, that might just be a little bit out of our capabilities.
Yeah. And I don't mind. At Barco, we have no problem working with brokers. There are plenty of brokers out there that know this field, know the superload field very well. And understand what they're looking for in a carrier, and that's where they want a carrier like a Barco that can come in and we provide start to finish, right? Project management. I'm out there 6 months prior to anything ever hitting the pad or the site, and making sure that, hey, this is all going to work the way that it's supposed to. We've integrated technology now where you can do turn radius drawings. You can lay out your trailer, and through AI, it'll kind of run the path of a turn on any turn anywhere, and make sure that, hey, this is going to work, or hey, no, this isn't going to work, and we need to do some mitigation to make this possible. And that kind of stuff right there, knowing like you said, knowing your wheelhouse, knowing kind of where you want to be, and your customer base is important. Like, customers will ask me, hey, do you do step deck flatbed work? Can we give you this step deck or flatbed stuff along with the super loads? And I'm always very honest, open. I'm not the cheapest step deck or flatbed carrier. If you want it all under one truck, one roof, perfect. I got you covered. But I promise you, flatbed step deck work, it's not my wheelhouse. There's guys that are very good at it. I am not that guy. If it's big, ugly, nasty, needs to go down the road with a lot of help, escorts, everything else, I'm your guy. So that's it. Just knowing what you're going for, knowing your wheelhouse, and just kind of staying in your lane a little bit.
Yeah. How'd you kind of get to that point, Nate? Like for me, dude, it's just like the more experience that I get, the less and less I'm willing to do, I think. And I think it might have, from my perspective, it has to do with the fact of I know how hard it is to build a book of business. And I'm not like, I'm a risk taker, yes, but like, I'm not an idiot, I guess. And like, I don't want to roll the dice on something that took 6 to 8 months, maybe 12 months to even onboard, and then risk it right away with something that like, I've never done that before. I'll just figure it out as we go.
Right. I got to this point because the stuff that engages my mind the most is the big, large, specialized stuff. I like selling an entire project to somebody. The feeling you get when somebody goes, "Oh, there's no way you can do that. There's no way." And then that for me is a challenge. So I love that aspect of the heavy haul business. Going out, showing customers, hey, this is what we can do. We know how to do this. This is possible, and we can make your life easier by providing this service or doing this differently than somebody else would do it. Just being able to look at things, having so much freedom to be able to look at stuff and come up with new ideas, and just not always have to do what fits in the box.
Mm-hmm. So how are you, you brought up sometimes you're out there 6 months before a truck would even arrive at some of these facilities. How long does the planning phase typically last for this? And then how do you guys plan out your capacity? Because obviously if we're bidding out stuff 6, 8, 12 months in advance, there's a lot of daylight between now and then. So kind of how are you playing that, game of chess essentially to make sure the pieces are in the right place?
Well, first, it's not just me. We have a really good ops team back at home, and we all work together pretty rigorously. So when it comes down to the planning phase, some stuff starts 6 months out. Some stuff is not that far out. Some things are simpler than that. Like a lot of your yellow iron stuff is a lot simpler than that and doesn't take as much planning. But your more specialized items like your control buildings, your pressure vessels, turbines, transformers, stuff like that, that stuff takes a little bit more planning because there's a site that needs to be built, accessed, and make sure that everything is going to work. Obviously you can't start working on permits too early because construction and lovely states will change everything on you at a moment's notice. So there is a fine balance there. You can do some preliminary work, but there is a little bit of you can get a little bit your skis too far out in front of yourself, as they say. So when it comes to planning and scheduling, yes, we schedule out. I mean, if I pulled up my schedule right now, I bet you it looks out into May currently. With obviously holes to fill. It's not just booked solid, but your bigger projects are scheduled out a month in advance, sometimes 2 months. And it makes it really difficult because I want to service everybody. I want to be able to service the guy that calls me today and says, hey, I need a truck in 2 days and here. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's always a gift and a curse, right? You want to be busy that far out, but you also it also hurts because you can't help the guy that calls and needs somebody in 3 days, which is a balancing act for sure. Definitely becomes a little problematic, but a good problem, as we all we like to say. It's a very good problem to have, to be that busy and to be that in demand, as they say.
No, definitely. You know, with how are you guys out there? You know, obviously things happen, right? Like wet weather, you know, acts of God, all of that stuff is happening. So like, how are you guys dealing with that? Like in the event that something goes down, do you guys pre-price that into your guys' bid? Like, hey, if this happens and our driver shut down for 4 days because like it's a mud pit out there at the job site, do you guys kind of take that ahead of time?
There's always a demurrage charge, which is obviously a lot different in the heavy haul specialized world, as equipment is exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on a dual lane crew, sometimes you have 4 guys, so things add up quickly. Just sitting there. So obviously, acts of God, snow, roads are closed. There's nothing we can do about that. That's just that just is what it is, and you just kind of have to deal with it. But you communicate that to your customer, communicate that to your client, so everybody understands, hey, this is what's going on. We're not just sitting here, you know, wasting time for the fun of it. When it comes down to the job site's not being ready, weather has affected the job site. Sometimes, yes, we have to incur charges, but we try to be fair with everybody, right? Like, we understand, hey, look, this isn't your fault. It's not our fault, but unfortunately the equipment is going to cost to sit here. And it's all we talk about it. It's all into a bid. Everybody's aware of what the charges are going to be. So nothing, again, communication comes down to communication is huge in this industry. No matter what side of it you're on, just communicating what the expectations are on your end, their end, and going from there.
With your guys' market, Nate, out there, are you guys really affected much, or is a lot of your guys' project? Because like obviously it's not transactional, right? Like there aren't too many 8 to 10 axle RGN guys just like sitting around waiting for freight, you know?
There is, but it's not a great model.
Yeah, no, exactly. But like, so how are you guys really navigating through this, you know, in the market, right? Are you guys seeing, you know, because like early construction commitments, stuff like that, like that's a very solid indicator on kind of how things are going to perform over the next 12 months? Or are you guys more in like the finished goods kind of side of things? Like, you know, you brought up yellow iron and other components where it's like this stuff's kind of been in the works for a few years already.
Yeah, so a lot of the projects, and again, I'll say project because we focus a lot on project freight, stuff that's been in the works for a while now, and now we're coming in here at the end where you know, project XYZ has 50 of these pieces that are coming, and we're gonna take care of that from start to finish. Whereas like you'll see a lot more of that fluctuation in the yellow iron side. Those are a lot harder to plan for because that stuff, they're looking for the guys that 10, 11, 12 axle RGN guys that are just sitting there waiting. And that side of things, I think, is affected a lot more by like just fluctuations in fuel prices, stuff like that. Like it's that side of the marketplace is way more volatile than the project side and the more specialized items. You see a lot of, I guess now you do see a lot of insurance companies and stuff that are really kicking up their standards. Customers are kicking up their standards to a much higher level than I've seen in the past to kind of maybe weed out some of the ones that can't meet the standard or can't meet the safety standards for these projects and different things like that. So there's definitely a dynamic there that you have to stay ahead of. Some of the vetting processes are pretty thorough when it comes to these larger high-end projects that we're on. So just something that a good ops team like we have has to stay on top of. And, you know, and we just try and stay current and actually stay ahead of the curve. You always want to try and stay ahead of the curve. You don't want to be chasing your tail.
No, absolutely. You know, I want to talk a little bit business development here, Nate, because, you know, you're one of the few that I know of that drove for a very long time and then now is out doing business development, right? Like you said, there's a lot of guys who want to get out of the cab and go and do that. What's been, now that you're not behind the wheel and you're out there, developing business in the field, doing what you're doing now, what has helped you the most from your driving experience to when you're able to talk to some of your customers and your prospects?
Wow. That's a good question. I'll say this, it was the bigger challenge than I thought it would be, making that transition. I have no problem talking to people, talking to customers. That part wasn't really the issue. It was more just, trying to understand what their needs are. It goes so much further than just the trucking side of it, right? You're actually busier. I'm busier now than I was when I drove, which is hard to believe. You answer phones at all weird times of the day. And you answer phones on the weekends, and you answer phones when your wife doesn't want you to. So that side of it was really a hard transition to make. Things that helped me the most, I draw a lot of my leadership and whatnot from my military background. So I read a lot of books, to be honest, or I listened to a lot of books because I did a lot of driving. But yeah, just being able to listen to some of the stuff that maybe like Jocko Willink comes out with and Leif Babin helps relate it to business and the ways that you can talk to different people and how you can achieve what you want, on a business standpoint, really helped me make that transition. And I'm still learning. It's 2 years into this, and I'm still very much kind of refining the way I talk to customers, how I go after new business, different things like that. I'm very much a proof in the pudding kind of guy. I don't have a degree or anything like that, so I got to make up for it with field experience, and I feel like I've done that pretty well.
Dude, I would argue you have a PhD in heavy hauling. Like, you really do. Like a lot of this stuff, and I get into, I don't want to call it arguments, but I get into passionate conversations with individuals who are like, oh, you need all of these advanced degrees. And I'm like, for what? Right? Like I have a couple of college degrees, and yeah, did I learn from them? Of course, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't, but like I learned the most through frontline experience, right? Like, and I feel like that's the ultimate way to solve any puzzle. You got to eventually rip the Band-Aid off and realize like planning and strategy only gets you so far. The refining phase of what you actually need is through the execution, and that's where a lot of people miss out on. And you brought up Jocko and Leif, and like the book Extreme Ownership, I think is one of the most overlooked books out there, from like the most, in my opinion, the most basic applicable way to kind of go about stuff. And for me, it's like, dude, I don't, when something happens in my job, it's me, right? Like it's nobody else. I never say it was this, that, or anything under the sun. I just own the entire situation. And it's amazing how much, I would argue 99% of your problems that might arise with the customer will go away when you say, hey, this is what happened. It's on me.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. And it's a communication thing, right? Like you own it, you communicate it, and then you can fix it. And then I find a lot of customers, problems are going to arise in this industry, especially in the specialized side of things, stuff you didn't foresee. Different things like that. This equipment is so complex, and the things you're moving are very complex that yes, things will arise. It's how you communicate, how you execute, how you move through those problems that impresses a customer the most. How do you mitigate that stuff? And I think, like you said, that Extreme Ownership, I think everybody should read that. And then even if you're in a leadership position, the dichotomy of leadership is also another great follow-on to that. And even if you're not a military person and you don't come from a military background, the way that they correlate it into business is great. So I gravitated towards that. It helped me make transition into what I do now. And I still pull from it. I'll go back and listen to different things, and I still pull from it today. Because I feel like it's a great tool. So it may not be for everybody, but for me, it worked great. And it sounds like it worked good for you too.
I think the best investment I've ever made in business is through like the books and stuff that I've read out there. And it's really helped kind of clarify a lot of stuff. It's really helped me simplify my approach when I'm going out there and talking to people and everything else. Because like, dude, I'm not a natural salesman by any means, right? Like, dude, I'm a natural introvert. Like when I'm at home, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to hang out with my wife and my kid and my dogs, and that's it. And that, that's my comfort zone. But like when I'm out there, I'm just like, man, I want to be as prepared as I possibly can. And, I've read a couple of books here in the last year, and I've mentioned them on the show already. Like Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0 is a very good book for you to read. And then I also keep this one on my desk. She's a friend of mine. It's called The Revenue Engine. Kara Brown wrote this one, and she talks about, your ideal customer profile. And she helped me. It's page 103 of the book. If anybody's reading that, want to skip ahead, page 103 changed everything for me because, I take this stuff personally, right? Because like, this is how I support my family. I take this stuff very seriously when I'm going out there. But she had mentioned something in the business development phase, like, hey, once you have your ideal customer profile, it's a process of elimination at that point. So like I gamified it in my head to where it's like, hey, if I found out somebody didn't ship or didn't use the equipment that I want to move, that was a win for me, right? So it's like it completely shifted the entire dynamic as I'm going out there and attacking business development. And I feel like it's truly helped me a lot clarify my messaging. Because if I'm going out, just like you, man, like you said earlier, hey, we're not your best, we're not your cheapest when it comes to like flatbed and step deck and stuff like that, where you're specialized, the big, ugly, heavy stuff going down the road. That's what we want. You guys have your ideal customer profile. I think that is a much cleaner approach to business development when you're going in there with that singular focus. And, again, like you said, if they want a one-stop shop, you guys can accommodate that. But your bread and butter is the multi-axle. It's the heavy haul stuff. Just like with me, my bread and butter is a flat step Conestoga. Yeah, we can do about 12 wide, 12 and a half tall in that. But anything wider than that, I'm not going to be your guy. And then anything LTL, go somewhere else. I like right now at this point where my business is, that is not an avenue that we want to approach.
And I think that's pretty key. Like you said, knowing what you want to be good at. You can try and do everything to a certain point, but then you'll never be great at just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the specialized world, there is so many different avenues that you can go. If you want to be the 8 to 12 axle, 10 axle guy, waiting for the piece of yellow iron, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's an avenue you can go. But if you want to specialize in the more, the perimeter deck, the basket trailers, the steerable dollies, stuff like that, well, there's a whole nother niche there that you can do and be really great at it. But understand this, as you start to progress into that, you're going to leave behind the smaller stuff, and it's not going to be what your main focus is. Because you want to be, when you start doing that bigger dual lane dollies, baskets, perimeters, it takes a lot of focus, takes a lot of planning, and takes a lot of time. And if you want to provide the product that needs to be at that level for the customers and what they expect at that level, then you need to be focused on that side of the business for sure.
Yeah. And I look at it like this, Nate. Anybody can get a customer one time, but can you get them to come back to you time and time again because you truly did what nobody else is doing or willing to do out there? And that's where the key is, because, for me, it's like, I'm out there cold calling literally every single day. I'm trying to build our book of business up to where we're having consistent, repeatable, scalable freight coming through for us. Until that happens, though, we have to go out there, and once we get a customer, we have to make sure that they come back to us time and time again, and we give them no reason to look in a different direction, because it's expensive to onboard a customer from a time perspective, all of that stuff. I mean, just like with you guys, right? Like you guys are out there in the literal field surveying stuff. You're doing a bunch of stuff before you even go out there and move the freight, right? So there's an investment piece that comes along with it. And from my standpoint, it is cheaper to keep a customer than it is to go out there and just to try and find new ones every single time.
Yeah, cultivating. I have no interest in one and done. I will accommodate you if you have something that is pressing and you just can't, your usual people. But I want to become your usual carrier. I want to become the guy that you call every time. I'm in this to build relationships with people. I don't need 40 customers. I need 3 that call me every time.
Yeah.
And that's what's more important to me. I want to have that personal relationship with 3. I don't need 100, you know. I want to have that. I want to, hey, how's it going, Bill? You know, how's the kids? You know, how you been doing? And then let's get into business. I don't want you to not even know who I am. So for me, that's very important. I want to meet you. I want to see you. I want to come see your facility. I want to know what you're shipping. I want to have that personal connection. And I think that's super, super important in any any aspect of this industry, but especially in the specialized heavy haul world. We're dealing with millions of dollars worth of assets being shipped in one load, and trailers that cost $1.5 million, $2 million sometimes with these bigger trailers. You know, I want you to know what my equipment can do. I want you to know who I am and who you can call if there's an issue, and anything else. You know, I just want to have that personal connection with you.
Dude, Nate, I love it, man. Thank you so much for joining me. I just appreciate it. I appreciate your insight out there. Nate is a must follow on LinkedIn, you guys. If you guys want to get information out there from the practical heavy haul world, follow Nate, follow his company out there. You guys, they post a ton of great content. Nate, but how does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you guys got going on there, man?
You can get me at my email, the btruckingsales@gmail.com, or you can get, we just actually should have a brand new website up right now too. I think it's www.barcotrucking.com. You can get any of your stuff there. And Chris, again, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you having me on. Always been very gracious. So I really do appreciate it. And I wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, Nate. Thank you so much. And that's going to be it for today, you guys. As always, we got more guests coming on this week. But if you got value in what you heard today, you guys subscribe to the show. If you're feeling really ambitious after this one, which you should be, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because that's how your network's going to see value. Because if you saw it, chances are they're going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.